Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Misha, you don't understand. I've been trying to get a hold of you for a long time. I've been trying to get to know more about you because I look up to you as an entrepreneur. I remember when the first time I had Misha's Cupcakes. It was a great experience.
Really?
Yeah, I think I was in high school. I was in
I was in high school too.
And somebody brought it to the house. We had a birthday party.
Okay.
And they got a bunch of cupcakes instead of an actual cake. That's awesome. Man, it was amazing.
These are the stories that I realized this the other day, that's what we do. It's like you're making people's memories. And generally, unless we screw up, they're good memories, right?
Always.
How cool is that? That's kind of a nice way to do business.
Man, and I've read a little bit about your story, but I brought you here because I think your story is amazing and your story is very inspiring for a lot of people, especially women entrepreneurs. That, everybody thinks that having their own business is impossible, that it's very difficult, that's not for me, that I should just go and get a job. And hearing your story, having a baby and starting a business at the same time, it's kind of difficult. So I want to go back to the beginning of the time you were born. How was your life and when you were little? And
so long ago.
I'm sure it wasn't that long ago. And how was that whole thing? Okay, so let's say you told me your parents were your parents were born here.
My mom was born in Mexico. She lived there till she was 17. She moved here. And then my dad was born in Utah, and he grew up in Peru. And then they got married in Miami, and this was like 1969. Mm-hmm. And then they had us, and I'm out of 3. So I have 2 brothers. So the 3 of us were born and raised here. I went to Gables High, and then I went to University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. And that was freezing. So, I wasn't a big fan of the cold weather.
So you came back home.
Well, I did have a little hiatus. I lived in Italy for 2 years, and I was a tour guide, and I worked in a hotel, and I was a nanny. Basically, I was drinking and eating and having the best time. It was awesome. So those 2 years, and then I came back, and I moved back to Miami in 2000.
That sounds like a movie.
Sounds like an Eat, Pray, Love movie.
Yeah.
Before, the terrible stuff.
Yeah, you were a tour guide, a maid, and a nanny, and you were
great.
drinking.
In Italy.
In Italy.
Nice. I like that.
So you had a lot of wine over there, I guess.
I still do. It was a good habit I picked up.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about, you came back to Miami. How was your life when you got back?
I moved in with my parents. So it was kind of nice. My dad's super, super, super strict. So he didn't really like when I was going out. And I had to come home. So I would come home at 5 a.m. And then I'd be like, I just woke up. And I'd walk out. My PJs, I'd switch clothes quickly. Mind you, I was 6 at the time. It's ridiculous. And I worked for UPS. I did sales. I learned so much from that experience, tremendous learning, because of the fact that they had a great training program. Mm-hmm. I had to do door-to-door calls, which, oh my God, it was so awful. You're knocking on these doors, and these people are some of them were really nice, some of them were really weird, and some of them were really not nice. They were like, just get out. Okay. So I did that for a little bit, and that's where I met my husband.
And let's go back to the selling door-to-door.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think you learned something from that? What was that experience like, and how do you think that has added value to
rejection? I learned a lot about being rejected, and then first you take it personally, and you think that there's something wrong with you, and then you realize okay, if I was in there and someone walked into my office and I'm in the middle of stuff,
right, I'd
be so annoyed.
Yeah.
So what do I need to do to make it that they actually want to talk to me? And it was easier with the guys, and then I realized it shouldn't be about that, right? It should be about I'm walking in and I'm pleasant and I'm not taking up too much time, and little by little it worked. I really enjoyed the feeling of okay, this one's good, but there were days where I'd walk out after someone was really mean, and I sit in there And I would kind of sulk for a little bit.
You take it personally, right?
Yeah, at first you do, because you feel, I was 6 or something, 25.
Can I have one sales tip? Give me a tip.
Oh.
One sales tip. Something that everybody should know.
Well, I think a lot of salespeople don't listen. They go and they're like pitching their thing instead of saying, you can say, what are your needs in many different ways so that people don't feel like they're getting sold something.
Right.
And I think that's it. It's like, you don't want to make the sales pitch feel like a sales pitch, because I think a lot of people respond long term and they'll be more loyal to your product if you haven't pushed it on them.
Right.
Because, when someone convinces me because I want them to leave me alone, then, I'm going to try to get out of it as soon as I can. But if the relationship then is built
right.
and you actually do respond and good customer service and that kind of thing.
Awesome.
So that was a lengthy tip.
That was an awesome tip. Okay. That's what people have to know, that it's like selling is not about just making money. It's about
right.
providing value.
Well, right. I mean, making money is important.
It's the most important part, but that's like behind the scenes. Nobody needs to know that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it shouldn't be the main. It shouldn't be the main thing
right.
in your mind.
Agreed.
Right.
Totally.
All right. So you get back to Miami, and you meet your husband at the time, right? Ex-husband. Mm-hmm. Okay. So tell me, how was that? Okay, you got married.
I did.
And then?
Quickly. I got married. We met, and then I got married like 6 months later. And I was not pregnant. And then...
I love how you throw that in there, because everybody assumes like, hey.
I know, right? It was very quick. And then a year later, I got pregnant and had our daughter.
And at that time, you had your job still at UPS.
I was still at UPS.
Okay.
I was going to FIU in the night to do the International Business Masters.
Okay.
And I got pregnant like the last quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of like, I'm going to be a full-time mom. And
there goes my career.
I'm like, bye. Because I thought, that's what my mom had done. And I thought that it was great having her around all the
right.
time. But then I didn't realize how much I would hate it.
Right.
Right. I'm not good at staying home. I mean, unless I'm doing a project or like
right.
planting something, or I don't know.
But most people, I heard that was an issue, that usually women that have kids, pretty much their career kind of comes to a stop.
For the time.
Because you have to dedicate time to your kids. And then moms that go out and keep working and find a way to, manage everything. Yeah. I call them super moms, because you have a full-time job, and then you get home and you have another full-time job. It's, it's very difficult. How were you able to go through all of that?
Well, it's funny, because my daughter, she's 13 and a half now. She's almost 14. But she was 5 years old when I had my the son. Well, and I have two boys and one girl. Mm-hmm. And those 5 years, we joke now, she's like, I had a non-present mother the first 5 years. And I'm like, you're such an idiot. And she goes, but you just you weren't around. And I was really working a lot. And because I loved it, first of all, mm-hmm. and it wasn't that I didn't want to be with her. It was more that I was so driven to make the business work, and I found that the whole play, I'm not a good sit on the floor play with kids thing. I'm just not. And she's very active, mm-hmm. and so I thought, if this is what it is to have kids, and they're crazy like this, I don't want to have any more kids. So I did wait 5 years, and then I remember going to one of the schools here, one of the private schools here with her. And it was very difficult because I was a working mom, and there were very few in this environment, and they automatically hated me. And I didn't know why, and I felt very separated from this group of people, which it wasn't like I had any time anyway to go and hang out, because this was like, they would have play dates with their kids. Right. But if you weren't there, you weren't having play dates. So then your kid wasn't part of the group. And one lady, I found this out later, it said that I would do anything to make the business grow, and I would take my daughter and I would put a mattress on the warehouse so she could sleep, and we would sleep there at night. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh my God.
People start making up a
oh my
movie
God.
in their heads.
They make them crazy.
Yeah, people become really good directors, man.
Yeah.
They direct some
You
pretty
know?
good movies.
There's a lot of really good
So true.
filmmakers out there, just making films.
Maybe you can hire a few of these. I could give you some names.
Storytelling.
Yeah.
All right. So you were at UPS, and then what happens?
So then I quit. I think she was. Oh no! Yeah, I think I had just graduated, and then I ended up quitting.
So you finished your master's,
Finished my master's,
and then you quit.
in 2004 December, and then
Why? Why do you quit?
I think I had. You know what it probably was is that I was going to have her, and I didn't go back, because I was serious. I wanted to do the full-time mom thing, and so then as the first few months happened, and I was really tired. And so we're getting to like 3 months here, and my ex-husband was like, "Okay, so job, what's happening?" And
When are you gonna get a job? Why are you gonna help out a little bit?
Yeah, and I'm going, "Oh no, I'm gonna be a full-time mom." And he was like, "Oh, it's not happening. You have your master's, you went to school, blah blah blah," and I was pressured and annoyed. But we needed the money. I mean,
Of course, yeah.
Back then you think, "Oh my God, but this is my calling." And now I realize, like, okay, it's pretty normal to go back to work. And so I applied and interviewed with a bunch of pharmaceutical sales jobs, companies, whatever. And I remember going to Newark for the third interview, and it was myself and this other young lady. And I remember looking at her and being like, oh, I got this. And what a jerk I am, because I felt like I was whatever I thought I was, and I didn't even think that she had what it took, and she got the job. And
Look at that.
wow, it was a blow to my ego. And so then I realized, I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna be a judgy little bitch, because that's when you don't see things, you know. So
what's another thing that you learned from that experience? Because I know we've all been through it. We all think that we're the shit,
right?
And then something happens, and you're like, whoa. What just happened? And especially entrepreneurs, even though they don't know they're entrepreneurs yet, inside of them they're like, oh, I can do anything, you know? So
absolutely.
What's another thing that you learn about ego and managing your ego?
I think it's been a very lengthy it's like a life process, right?
Yeah.
So I keep learning about my own ego, and I had this wonderful conversation with, she's actually someone that you would love. It's a woman that wrote a book called Power Wishing, and she's here in Miami. And so we were sitting there talking, and I needed to let go of certain people that were toxic, not good for the business. This is very recent. This is like 2 weeks ago. And she says to me,
breaking news.
and she goes, well, so what's holding back? You know that they're screwing up your business. You know
Right.
that they're not good. You know that they're the bad apples and that kind of thing. And and we're talking, and she goes, I know what it is. You don't want them to talk shit about you. And I go, it's not that. I mean, she goes, you don't want them to hate you. And I realized, I was like, huh. She goes, Misha, people are going to hate you, and you have no control over that. So if you walk your life in the way that you feel is right, and I mean, quite honestly, I don't do things that are illegal, and I don't do things that are on that gray line.
Right.
And she goes, so do what's right, and who cares?
Right.
Who cares about what the rest of them think? And I felt like I unattached myself from this feeling like I had to prove something, or like I had to make everyone feel good or whatever. And the next day I went walking. I walk around the Granada golf course every morning. And I'm walking, and I was like, I always say hello to everybody, you know, because I go at 7 o'clock, and everyone else that's there, they all go at 7 o'clock too.
So you
It's
all
just,
see each other
so
every
we're all
day,
like,
yeah.
hi. And sometimes I'm like, I haven't put on makeup, or like my makeup's gross, or I'm like, I just got out of bed, whatever.
Yeah.
And that morning I was like, I don't care. I could be like wearing just, I don't know, a bag over my head, and it's all good.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, that whole ego thing. Look, we've had some tough times in the business, and it hurts your ego, because you're like, I thought I had this, you know? Mm-hmm. And so
And that's you already being successful. Imagine somebody that is just starting out. Because when you have a little bit of success, you're like, I need to have a little bit of ego. We all have it, right? But, somebody just starting out, they start with an ego very big, and then they start learning to control it.
And then you get, it's so true.
Yeah.
And you know that at first, and it's exciting because you see that confidence, and I admire that confidence. And sometimes I would think that confidence was completely backed up by experience or life or whatever.
Right.
And then you realize from your own that many times it's not. And so you watch. I've had a few girlfriends of mine, they've done similar businesses and stuff. And when I'm high and they're low, or they're high and I'm low, and we talk about it, it's like, oh my God. But like 2 years ago, I was like, yeah, I got my new Audi. And you know what I mean? And now I'm like, I just let my new Audi go, kind of thing, So you realize there's like...
And that's something I went back to my school yesterday, and I was speaking to some of the kids. We spoke to about 400 and something kids. Yeah, it was a lot of them. And we did a lot of one-on-one sessions where they will come up and ask questions.
That's nice that you do that.
And one of the things that I kept on seeing is that all these kids are terrified of what other people think.
Yes.
And that's a huge problem that we have. I don't know if that parents are not, showing them how to have self-confidence, or if somebody's just not allowing them to be themselves. So what happens is that I asked them in a class, it's like, hey guys, how many of you guys are terrified of speaking in public? I will say 95% of the class was terrified of speaking in public.
And they raised their hand.
Yeah. And then I asked them, tell me why. And I just went around the room quickly. Why? One word. All of them were judgment. I'm terrified of people thinking that I'm an idiot, that I said the wrong thing. I'm terrified what other people think.
Yeah. Some of them are like, they feel so beat up. They feel like they're a failure because they failed algebra too.
Yeah. And they're terrified
in high school.
And they're terrified that their parents are going to be like, oh, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. Or their friends are going to be like, oh, you didn't pass, but I passed with an A.
Loser.
And then they stop trying, and then that's how
unmotivated.
You don't get motivated enough to do anything. So, and they're 14, 15 years old.
Yep.
And that's the age when you need that help, know? And I was telling Alexis earlier this morning, it's like that we need to do something about that. I don't know what I can do because I'm not a politician.
Right?
I'm not a politician. I don't work in the school board.
Does it have to be that? Can it not just be, people like you, people like me going and saying, like talking about our own experiences and them seeing confidence in having done something or like just internally having that confidence? Why don't they have it?
So that's what I proposed to the principal, and the principal made it happen very quickly. I got two of my other friends that went to the same high school, because I know that's going to make him relate a little bit more. It's hey, we were there a couple of years ago.
We did this.
And we went on stage and we told them, like, hey guys, look, you can do whatever you want. I don't care that people are going to tell you that you suck, that you have good grades, so you're not going to be successful. But it's like, I never had great grades. Jenny, for example, had straight A's, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But then Michelle didn't have straight A's. She had B's and C's, and maybe she was an average student, but she's also successful. Yes. So, we're beating up all these kids because they're not getting A's in the test.
The right grades, the right clothes, the right friends.
And then what happens? How were you in high school with your grades?
I was straight A's.
You were a straight A student?
Well, I also had a very strict conservative father who he gave us rewards based on merit, right? So
I say that I'm always going to raise my kids like that.
And I wish that I had, mine are still in the raising process, and I need to be better about it, because I really was motivated by, but he did it with money. And so, I don't know if that's the best way. But there was something to be said for, every week, I had 1 hour of TV a week, right? We weren't allowed to watch anything else. I
love it.
1 hour of TV?
I know.
That sounds crazy.
I love the whole 1 hour thing. Well, what do you think about that? Was that too much? Too strict?
You know what? Now I think it was fantastic. Then it kind of sucked because I didn't know anything.
Right.
Like all the other kids were like, oh, SNL. I'm like, is that an abbreviation for something? It's such a nerd. And I was very studious, but I was also on the swim team and the captain and blah blah blah. So it was like I was that in betweener. Right. I wasn't cool, I wasn't a total nerd, but I wasn't like And it was actually better because you kind of then you're almost not transparent. You're just like, you can kind of move. You know what I mean? And it was weird because there was every school probably has it, you know, the druggies and the losers, and which is terrible. Like, there's the judgment right there, right? Yeah. But then people find their pocket and then they sit in it and they become that group. And then to be able to go around in each one, then you see the different people that were in it. And it's weird to see those people now that I went to high school with. Some of them are extremely successful. And some of them, like the really cool people, are just not, you know?
That's what I say. Cool kids are never successful most of the time.
No, isn't that crazy?
So it's okay to not be cool in high school.
I know.
I saw some of the cool kids from my high school recently.
Did you?
Either in
Are
jail.
they behind bars?
They're not so cool anymore.
No, I know. It's like they
it's really awkward.
Really young, right?
And that's something we gotta, you know, bring that out, because kids in high school, they're getting involved in all this drama and all this BS that they deal with, and they swear that being cool is a good thing, you know. But then at the end, once your high school years are over,
what you got?
They got nothing.
Nothing. Right.
They got nothing.
You haven't studied, so you haven't achieved.
And they're 40 years old working in a store, and they probably never did anything with their lives. And there's nothing wrong with working in a store, but just like
if
for a
happy.
cool kid,
right?
For a cool kid, it's like, I thought you were gonna be a little bit better than me, because that's what you think in high school.
I know, right?
I was in the same boat. I was very flexible. I would hang out with the nerds and then the cool kids. But that happened junior year. Sophomore year, I was a total nerd.
That's not a bad thing, though.
Yeah, and then junior year, I was like, I need to be cool. So I made it a point to talk to every possible girl, because I want to get more comfortable.
But then all the girls are probably like, he's so nice. I like him. He's so nice.
And then I became cool. And I was like, damn.
How did I get here?
Yeah, and then that actually helped me a lot with business, in the sense of I was terrified of speaking to people before.
Really? You?
Yeah, I was.
And you guys were friends in high school?
No. We met in college.
Okay.
College.
But we met literally right out of high school.
Right, a couple of first months of college. But, you know, I was terrified. I was the quiet guy sitting in the back. Really? I barely spoke English at that time, too.
Okay.
And then I felt out of place. I felt like I wasn't belonging to any group.
Yeah, uncomfortable.
So I made it a point junior year to talk to everybody.
Good for you.
And that helped me kind of get out of my shell. And now that's what I do. I can't wait to go and talk to a school, 400 kids. You know, I love that. I love the whole thing. So yeah. Nice. Okay. So going back to starting Misha's Cupcakes, you leave your job at UPS.
Right.
And
you
had your baby, and then you were home for how many months?
Well, she was about 4.5 months when I had gotten like a no, the final no, because I was like, I'm not doing this. It's bullshit. And quite frankly, I think I just didn't have the desire, you know? And people feel that energy.
So you were applying, but like, yeah, sure, I'll apply, but you didn't really want it.
Kind of not really, no. And so, you know, you go to the interviews and you're like, yes, this, but inside I'm like, this is bullshit.
Right.
And I was annoyed because of the whole, like, get a job thing from my ex-husband. And so it was almost like I was being a little passive-aggressive, maybe. I've grown up. So, and I was driving with my daughter one day, and I was listening to NPR, and I heard about the Sprinkles cupcakes in LA, and I was like, I could do that. And because I love to bake, and so, and I thought, well, since I'm a stay-at-home mom, I can make some extra money, and then he'll be off my back. And so I went home, and I was like, so this is what I'm going to do. And he literally like laughed at me and was like, that's not happening. And I go, no, now that's really what I'm going to do, because it made me mad. It became a challenge. Yeah, it did. It's like, I can do this now. If you're going to say I can't, then I'm definitely going to do it. And so I literally started baking cupcakes and my mom's recipe, her chocolate recipe. And I'm like, this is fun. I started to do the chocolate, and then I guess we need another flavor, right? So then I made the vanilla. And I literally took the chocolate recipe, and I was like, okay, everything that's white, right? So we got everything that's dark. Now we're going to make everything that's white. And it was really good. And so then I would walk up and down my street and give them to my neighbors. I got to know all my neighbors, and that was nice. And then I would give them to people, just some random people sometimes, which became awkward. Because here's a cupcake. Here, would you like to try my cupcakes? And people were like, And I gave them to my friend who was a pharmaceutical sales rep, and so she would take them to her offices.
Right.
And that was fantastic because then, you know, the people in the front, the gatekeepers, are going, hey, come back with those whatever that you brought, right? And so that helped. And then I donated cupcakes to a breast cancer charity.
Who helped you bake all these cupcakes?
Really, no one.
So it was just you there.
Initially, it was just me. And I would wake up. I love waking up early, so I'd wake up really early. My daughter was still breastfeeding at that point.
At what time do you wake up usually?
Well, now or back when I would bake?
Back when you were baking.
So back when I was, you know, I did all the baking and I made all the batter, all the frosting for the first 7 years. So I would get up and get to the store generally around 4
in the
15.
morning. Wow.
Yeah, but like at 8 o'clock, I'm done. You know, there's nothing coming out of my brain at that point. So
8 o'clock in the morning?
at night, like done in a glass of wine, and then it's like, oh. But I feel good when I wake up early. I feel like I can get stuff done.
So this is a tip for people. You think, how does waking up early help you succeed?
I mean, think of all the things that you can do. Okay, maybe 4 is a little early, but now I get up at 5:15, and I have to wake up my kids at 6 when I have them. So I've got 45 minutes. I take 15 minutes, and if I'm being good, I'll do literally a 5-minute meditation, and then I'll drink my coffee, do my and then I have 30 minutes where I just kind of prepare myself for the day, and it sets the tone for the day. I think that by the time my kids have gone, you know, I take them to the bus at 6:45. By 9 o'clock, I've done so much more than most people do, because most people get to work at 9, right?
Right.
So you get to work at 9, you work till 12, and you go eat lunch. You have so many interruptions, phone calls, text messages, emails. How productive can people really be? And that quiet time in the morning, where although my little one sometimes comes and he's like, he comes and snuggles up, so that's okay. But, you know, I think that it's, for me personally, probably the biggest, what do you think? Like the thing that I have that's above what other people are doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's your biggest advantage. Being able to wake up early.
I can't remember that word. Yeah, because I have a good friend, and we were talking the other day, and she's like, what time do you wake up? And I go, yeah, I told her, and she's, see, I just can't do that. But then she goes to bed super, super late, and she's always tired, and she goes, okay, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it but I'm going to do like 9:30 to 7. And she's been doing it for 2 weeks, and she's like, my life has changed. And I thought, okay, yeah, I think that it does. It gives you like a little boost.
I know that most successful people that I know, they're millionaires, successful people in the community. All of them tell me the same thing.
They all wake up early.
All of them wake up from 4 in the morning to it's a pattern that I keep seeing, and that's something that a lot of people need to. We
should do a study on this.
Yeah, that's just from my experience. I know a couple of successful people here, and all of them have that in common.
Okay, good to know. Right. I'm on the right track.
Come on. Anyways, let's go back to starting Misha's Cupcakes. You were baking, working all day. Baking all these cupcakes. How many cupcakes would you say were you making at that time?
Well, you know, at first I was making like 20 kind of thing, you know, and it was always in between Ella's schedule. My daughter's name is Ella. In between her feeding schedule and her sleeping schedule. And then I wasn't really getting the knack of the mom thing, so I would drive her around to put her to get her to sleep. It was like, oh my God. Sometimes we had like a good 45 minutes driving before she'd fall asleep. So it was kind of, you know, spotty.
Yeah.
It was basically whenever I could. And then as like people started actually calling for orders, I was so surprised because I don't know about you guys, but I hate answering my phone for numbers that I don't know.
Right.
Right. So all of a sudden I had to answer the phone. I'm like, damn. But it was orders. So I'm like, okay, it's worth it. And I still have the book. It's this black planner, like a soft one, that I would write all the orders in, like little tiny. And I swear, I don't know how I didn't have complete mess ups but at this point I was doing it with cash, right? So people would order, and that was great. But my husband at the time had said, you know what? This is BS. He goes, if you haven't sold I think he said $50,000 of cupcakes in this next year, then you have to get a job. And I was like, all right, fine. So I was very determined because I'd grown up with my dad who worked from home. Right. Any guy that I dated had been an entrepreneur or had their own business, even if they had gotten it from a family thing. And so I was used to that. That was my example.
The freedom.
So, right. And that flexibility. And I'm not the greatest with authoritative control, It doesn't work.
You don't like people telling you what to do?
No, I don't. I mean, because I don't think people are really good at doing it. And you can tell people what to do in a nice way, right? And I learned from UPS kind of the management style that I wanted to be. And I'll never forget this. I learned the way that and I still wish that I could be like him. This guy's name is Bernie Probst. He's an attorney here, and he was a good friend of my ex-husband's. And I worked for him for 3 months while I was pregnant. And I was like a paralegal.
Right.
And he was so kind. And I know there were times where he probably wanted to strangle me when I would make mistakes. But his style of teaching was, you didn't even realize that you'd completely messed up. And because he had just then brought it around, made it an incredible teaching moment, and then I wanted to do everything perfectly for him.
Right. You don't want to let him down,
Didn't.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you got to be tough because it's business.
Right.
But you also have to,
There has to be kindness in it.
A little bit of it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, though, even if you are kind and fair, they're not nice people.
Yeah.
So they will still do terrible things when they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of where it comes back to that whole, like, okay, if I'm going to be genuine with who I am, I'll expect, that there's going to be some people that don't like me or whatever. And then there are those people that will do not nice things, and I need to let it go.
Yeah. And then there's people that are going to support you with their lives, So
yes, and they're the wonderful ones.
Those are the ones that you want to keep around because they care about you. It's not about money. It's not about anything. It's about they just believe in your vision. Okay, so again, I want to go back because I want to know the whole story. Okay,
I'm like,
you were baking a bunch of cupcakes. No, I actually love that. I love the fact that we're going around.
We are.
So you were baking a bunch of cupcakes and you started getting calls, writing all of them down in a book. Then your ex-husband tells you, hey, if you don't make this amount of money, you're going to have to get a job.
Right. You're good at the swinging back around here.
I love the fact that this whole thing, you were just getting a bunch of speed bumps in the way.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to keep on going. You think that if you had it easy in a way that everybody would just be like, yeah, sure, whatever you want, Misha. Don't worry about it. Do whatever you want. You think that would help you to be as successful as you are today?
No. Oh, God, no. I mean, I wouldn't have learned how to do and how to be able to be in situations, confront people, have those tough conversations. Trust me, I don't like confrontation. But I also recognize that if I don't do it, then down the line, what's coming is so much worse because I've already done that. And I've already gotten like super burned. So now it's like, listen, we've had tough moments. Let's you and I hash it out. And if you don't like the way that I do it, okay, well, there's a door. I mean, what can I do? And so I think that I've learned so many times where I screwed up or I've listened to somebody instead of getting both sides, made bad decisions and done it imperfecly over and over. But I think each time there's been an improvement. Right. I hope, Mm-hmm. And then you have to just think of the wild cards. Some of those people you'll try to implement all the things that you've learned with people, and they're just resistant, and you're not going to get through. Right. So that's like you go next.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
Either get on the train or get out. Get
off. Yeah.
All right. So that year, the $50,000 or whatever the amount was. Yeah. Is that something that happened?
It did. 55. It was $55,000, and I remember thinking, Kiss my ass. So, it's funny because he had a business that was like a sandals, whatever business. So I started to use the credit card machine. And so then I felt like, okay, this is legit. And then it helped because some people wouldn't show up. They would call, make an order. And then I have this order that I'd done time on and they wouldn't come. And so.
And this is all from home?
From home. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
And it was October 2005. So then 2006 was in my house. And 2007, I wanted to open a store. And initially there was a store here that I was going to open. And it was like, this is how it happened. So right before, like we'd been looking at the space and I'm like, okay, yay. And then I incorporated. And so it was effective January 1, 2007. So my dad at the time, he was like, my parents, I'll give them that. They always believed in me and they supported me even if I had crazy ideas or whatever. But he was like, I'm going to invest in your business. I'm like, okay. So he gave me $30,000, but then he was one of the directors in the business, right? And that first 2 weeks of January was like, so what are you doing with money? So where is it? So blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I need a report. And I'm like, this is not what I signed up for.
Right.
So it was like the end of the month and I wrote him a check and I said, thank you so much. I'm very grateful, but I can't accept the money and I want to be able to do this on my own so that it's not like I have anybody else who's kind of in charge. Yeah. I mean, and why would I be embarking on something that would allow me the flexibility of making my own decisions and then have to report to somebody else? Granted, a lot of people have to do that when they start off and that's great, but it just wasn't in my soul, It felt weird. I gave him the money back and then I was going to open the store and it just didn't, I don't know, there was stuff and it just didn't feel right. And I had gotten pregnant, lost the baby early on. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to take a smaller step in between house and big retail. Let's take a smaller step. And so I found a warehouse and like literally through I had a huge commercial oven that I put into my house. So, and we put this big hole in the wall and it was just like, I took that and 2 double-decker home ovens and opened the warehouse. Made it cute, the front, and then it was myself and one other girl. She had started with me and it was like the summer of 2006. And happy story. So she worked with me for like a long time and then she stopped working for me. She got married and had 2 kids. And she just started working for me again. So it's like, I love her.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a nice thing. So after I moved to the warehouse, it was a good step because I wasn't full on retail in front of people, that kind of thing. And people started coming to the front of the like warehouse area where I had the office and to make orders or to pick up their orders. And then people in the area started to come. It was over off of Bird and like between Bird and Miller and 48th and 72nd in that Bird Road design area. And they would just be like, do you have any cupcakes? And so I started to have cupcakes there just to sell.
Available, right?
Yeah. And it was fun. I mean, I would work so much. We would be there until like 8, 9 o'clock. And I remember forgetting to pick up my daughter one time. I was like, it's like 3:30 and the school's like, because she was in like daycare, 7.
Right.
They're like, oh, well, so we have Ella here, and she doesn't know that you've forgotten. And I was like, oh. There was the moments where, you just kind of screw up.
Right.
But that year, those first 6 months it was neat. It was fun. I was out of my kitchen, and I had gotten into this lease at Dayland Mall to do a cart, which was like the size of this table here. Because it was so expensive. It was $5,300 a month for this little tiny cart. And this is back in 2007, right? That's a long time ago. And so I thought that I'd worked a lot before, but then this was like over the top. So I would deliver everything in the morning, and then I would go back at 4 for the change of the shifts, deliver more, and then go back at night and close the thing. We'd had a young lady that ended up, I had these 2 wonderful girls. I've had some wonderful girls. Like now they're both nurses. One just got married. The other one's getting married. Just like neat, you know?
Right.
And that's been like 12 years. So that Dadeland kiosk thing was awesome. It was a year. And then it was done because I opened the store that's here now. So
the store in Coral Gables, your first official store.
Total legit.
2008?
8. Yeah, it was August 2008. And we weren't allowed to listen to this. We couldn't put up the sign. We hadn't gotten our permit yet. So I had paper in the walls and the glass. And so people had to knock. And then we'd be like, oh. And so they would come in and they're like, oh, it's so secret. It was silly. But it was kind of cool. It kind of created this buzz.
Right.
And so when we finally opened, I was like, oh my gosh, who are these people? Because before it had just been word of mouth. And it was friends and family.
Right.
And, you know, look, I will try anybody's whatever, and I'll like gladly talk it up if it's good. But if it's not good, I'm going to tell them. I'm going to say, hey, good job, but it's not my thing. But when they come back, then you know, okay, it's working out. Right. Like we've done something that's
Were you
good.
a little afraid when you opened your first store? It's a big commitment.
Yeah.
You know? You're signing a lease for probably 2 years at first.
I think it was 5.
So first
like 5
store,
years.
you're like, okay, 5 years.
Yeah.
You got to stay with that lease for 5
right?
years. How was that time? What was going through your mind?
I was tired. I was enthusiastic. I never thought about like if things don't go well or risk or whatever, because that didn't even enter my mind. I think I've always been kind of like, okay, I'm doing this, so all the stuff around me doesn't matter, which is good in a certain way. It's like you got blinders on, but it can be, you know, then you're in it.
Right.
And you're not seeing what's around you all the time, which for that time was good. It was important because if I thought about what the possibilities were,
you wouldn't have done it probably.
Maybe not, you know, but I never thought that I wouldn't be successful.
You just went for it.
Yeah. It just was like, okay, this is going to happen. And oh my gosh, there was some tough moments because I realized I wasn't sleeping and I really liked being at the store. Like I liked being at the store more than I liked being at home.
Right.
And that's not good for, you know,
marriage,
your marriage.
The kids.
Right. Yeah. So
how do you handle that? How was that?
Oh, in 2008, I was like, I'm done. In December, I'm like, I want to get divorced. And I didn't, obviously, at that point. Because to me, it was like, okay, we're on a mission. So I'm working really hard. So why aren't you?
Right.
You know?
Support.
Or why aren't you working hard too?
Right.
So, and I believe that if you have a partnership, like everyone's got to be on board, but you have to do your part doing whatever you're doing.
Right.
So I would wake up, I get to the store at 4 something, and then I have to go back to wake up my daughter to take her to like preschool.
Right.
Because my ex-husband, he didn't wake up. And I'm like, you know what? And I did that for many years. And then I realized, I'm like, why am I doing all the work and doing all the momming? And it's BS.
Right.
So got a nanny. It helped. Nannies are great. We have ours now. I mean, she's just part of our family. It's been like 5 years,
right.
You know? So, yeah, those were tough times because when you don't want to go home and my husband would call like at 5. He'd be like, okay, it's Friday. Are you coming home? Yeah, half hour. He's like, okay. So it'd be like 7:30.
Right.
And he'd be like, okay, are you coming home? So then, I go home but I gave all of my energy to the business. And so then...
Relationship advice for someone, either... Let's do it from 2 different perspectives, okay? Mm-hmm. Someone that is not an entrepreneur, that is with an entrepreneur.
Yes.
What would you say is one thing they have to keep in mind? Because I know that's very difficult. Like, for example, my wife, I was lucky that she understands what I do, that I have to work extra hours on weekends, on holidays, on birthdays. You just got to do it. So not everybody's as lucky. So what would you say to someone that needs that advice. So I'm not an entrepreneur, but I'm marrying someone who is an entrepreneur. What is the one thing that they have to do?
The person that's not the entrepreneur probably has to have a lot of patience and believe in the person's vision, right? And also support them and know that, okay, here's what it is. This is what I signed up for. I'm in this relationship knowing that this is who you are now. But then the entrepreneur person, they really need to figure out what's important to their partner and fill that need, right? So if my partner loves birthdays or loves to go out to dinner or whatever, to do those special things that make them feel validated and loved and cared for, because you might not be you might have like a big moment in between those,
right.
But then there's something to look forward to, and then they know that you're still thinking of them as a priority,
right? Because
it is weird. It does kind of consumes you a little bit.
It becomes your life. Your business becomes everything. And the other thing is, I know for a lot of guys, it's very difficult to get with a girl that is an entrepreneur.
So true.
Because, they usually don't see females as business people, as entrepreneurs. And I have a huge feeling that I'm going to have 2 daughters. So I'm setting up the stage for, for girl power, all the way.
It's great.
So,
you'll be great at it.
So, he says this all the time, by the way.
He does.
I feel like
he's drawing it to him, right?
At first, I was like,
it's going to happen because he keeps saying it.
Because everybody, every time they see Rebecca or they see me, and we just get married, like, oh my God, I can't wait for the 2 daughters. I'm like, what?
They say that to you?
Everyone. Every person from people at her job, people that don't know each other. So I'm like, okay, I think it's going to happen,
Imagine if it's twins. Ugh.
That would be amazing, the way we get it over with once. And the only problem is, at the same time, we'll figure out.
Figure it out?
There's no point in having a gender reveal.
Exactly.
Some people are like, you pop a balloon and then
I already know. Don't worry about it.
JP,
I already know.
Don't even pop the balloon. We already know what it is.
All right. So, how is it for a female entrepreneur to be able to manage a life, a family life?
I think I never really identified myself in like this whole entrepreneur thing, whatever. And everyone would call me that, and I would be like, okay. To me, it was more like, okay, we're just doing what we're doing, right? And then as time went by, I understood what it meant, and I recognized the difference between myself and my friends, and I'm not saying better. Not at all sometimes, because sometimes I look at my girlfriends and I'm like, that's kind of nice, I mean, different lives, work for other people, or like I have a friend who's a painter and she's not an entrepreneur. She's a painter, you know what I mean? So, but she lives in a different space than I do. And she's much more laid back than I am. And I think that some people think that they're entrepreneurs because it makes them look good. And so they want that to be their identity. And I think that's what my ex-husband was. And I think that he felt that that was, what he had created for his own identity. But if you're doing that, then you've got to do it all the way. I mean, there's those days that you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I'm like messed up, tired today, or hungover or something. You know what I mean? But it's like, you still got to get up. And then the people that wake up and they're like, I just don't know what to do with my day every day. It's like, well, then go find a job. Because if you don't know what to do with your day every day, you're not going to make it. And if you don't have those, listen, I have days where I'm like, oh my God, I'm like kind of tired, take a nap. But then get off your ass and go and pound the pavement or whatever. And listen, I've had years of a hiatus where, you don't do what you're supposed to do to grow the business. You're just maintaining, and then you have a wake-up call, and it's like, wake up or drown, right? And those are painful because sometimes you think that you're not in that moment until, someone says something, or you look in the mirror, or it's like, and you get mad at first, and then you have to be realistic, because I realized the other day that there's nobody else that I'm like, who am I asking? You know what I mean? When I'm making a decision that I'm like, who am I asking? Yeah, I can ask my boyfriend, or I can ask my friends or whatever. But why do they have any insight into it that would apply to And so when you realize like it's up to you, then it's kind of empowering, actually. I don't know if I answered your question.
Have you ever thought about quitting? At some point that you were like, okay, like I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. Did that ever cross your mind at any point?
So when I had my third child, that's when I stopped baking, me every day doing the baking and the actual physical aspect of it. And that was in 2012. And the reason was because I found out that I was pregnant. I was not planned. And I had a condition called placenta previa where you can't carry anything. And so they're like, you can carry nothing more than 2 pounds or something.
Right.
It's not good. I ignored my doctor's warnings. And she said, you really need to be careful because you bleed. And so then you could hemorrhage and whatever. So they scare you, And I'm thinking, oh, she's just trying to scare me so that it's a liability thing, whatever. But it was actually serious. And I didn't listen. And then I was in the hospital from January 2013 for like almost 2 months. Bed rest and at Baptist. And it sucked so bad. And then I had my last one, Grayson, who is like, the child is just like a ray of sunshine. But I had him, and then he was in the NICU for a month. Mm-hmm. So I spent basically 3 months in the hospital. And it was soul crushing. I mean, I had some crazy stalker chick that was a nurse when I was there who would spend like 8 hours in my room. And you're hormonal, you're upset, you're like, you can't get out of bed. Right. So then you're relying on these people. So it turned into a really weird experience there. And after he got out of the hospital, I was not good. There was some postpartum, and I was just like, and he was tiny, and so we were worried about him having, problems and everything. And so I think that stress and that fear combined with, I worked when I was in the hospital, like I worked from my bed, and that impotence, I can't control this baby thing. I'm trying to do the business, but it's difficult. I put the business, the day-to-day and all those things that I had done into the hands of people that I trusted, but I'd never given them the opportunity to do those things without me monitoring them.
Right.
And they did great. They did a wonderful job. And so then that taught me something also. But I was suffering for 6 months afterwards because I felt like I didn't want to leave this baby because I thought he was going to die. Right. And so it was difficult for me to go back. And I really just kind of didn't. I always did payroll, and I would always do the ordering and that kind of thing. But I took a step back. And I think I knew objectively from out here that this wasn't me and that something's wrong. And that if I was me, I would be wanting to do my business. I'd want to be engaged, but I couldn't at that time. And so I had to wait it out. And it was tough. And I don't know if it was that I wanted to quit it completely. Mm-hmm. It's just that anything that reminded me of that very tough time for me was just painful. And so it took about 6 months, and then it was like, okay, here we are. Let's go.
For more.
Yeah. And so and that was like 2013 once that one was over, and 2014. At that point, by like 2015, we'd bought a house, we bought the house when I was pregnant, and then we built this house, and ridiculous. And then, and I'd opened a bunch of stores, and I was like, you know what? I got 3 kids. I'm with someone that doesn't make me happy, that doesn't work, and why am I doing this? I've worked really hard, and I will tell you all, get a prenup. In retrospect, I wish. Because, in the state of Florida, you have to split the business, whatever, anything. Right. Once you're married, you start something 50-50. And that's brutal, especially when you are the one who did the majority of the work. Right. So, of course, there was moments of like, I'm like, what am I doing here?
Right.
But I have to be happy, and I'm very upfront, and I was very much like, this is where I am always, this is where I am. I will meet you. Let's meet. Let's make it work. But then it got to the point where I was like, you got to do your part too. And that's how it is I realize with employees, with friends, with everybody. I feel like friends get more of a break for your friends.
Yeah.
Because it's like, look, our friendship, I really have nothing that I can expect from you other than whatever you can give me and I can give you. And if it's a little or a lot, that's why friendships go up and down. And that's the beauty of friendships. But to me, like your spouse has to be, you got to be on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you made a commitment.
Yeah, 300% all the time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right? And so I realized that I would be happier even after it was like CSI for, 2 years after it was bad.
Right.
After that, but, it's mine. It's my business. No one else owns any of it. And I've gone through some tough times financially for that because, you have to give half and blah, blah. But damn, it's worth it. It really was.
You feel free now, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a little wiser, just have not reached the pinnacle at all, but just like, I wish that people would listen. I wish I had listened. But why don't we listen when people are saying, be careful, make good choices, separate things,
right.
Be on top of your finances, don't blindly trust. But it's tough when you have a spouse or whatever, and of course you trust your spouse,
of
right?
Course.
But then when you realize that your spouse is not trustworthy, that's a big blow.
Of course.
So it does make you very, a little cagey, right? But also much more aware of what's happening with every aspect of the business. And now I have 8 stores, so it's kind of like, it's a lot of wrangling.
I remember when we saw the one in Miami International Airport.
We freaked out.
We were traveling to Jamaica, I think it was, or
yeah.
Oh,
no,
awesome.
I think we were going to Washington.
We were going to Washington. We were going to meet up with a customer over there,
Nice.
and we saw the store, and we were like, okay, we have to have Misha's cupcakes here.
Yeah, for sure.
We bought a couple of cupcakes.
We freaked out when we saw
thank
that.
you.
We were like,
that's awesome.
She's in Miami, which I'm sure that was hard to get, by the way.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. It's funny. It was this friend of mine that she's wonderful. You got to talk to her. She has
She said that twice. She said that twice already.
Okay, well, this is a different one.
But here's
I've got a few.
That's 2 contexts you got to give me.
I will gladly give to you, definitely. But this one, she has, I think, 15 locations, empanadas. It's called Half Moon Empanadas. Her name is Pilar.
I've had the empanadas. Remember, we went to that 500 startup event in downtown Miami a couple of months ago with Silvio and Jackson.
Yeah.
The empanadas that they had there that we were like, they're amazing.
Nice. Okay.
That's it.
Okay, I remember. Yeah.
She has a place in the airport too, but she has an actual, like, you have to bid on a lease there. Mm-hmm. So, you're bidding against various different businesses.
Right.
It's not like you're bidding against the empanada companies of Miami kind of thing. It took her 4 years to get into that spot.
I mean, it's one of the busiest
It's
airports
Miami International Airport.
in the world.
There you go.
Everybody comes to Miami. Everybody.
So
the traffic there is insane.
It's busy.
Genius.
It's busy. But she was the person, she's the one that we've had the highs and the lows together, and we talk about it and stuff. And I asked her, I'm like, would you be willing to give me your contact? And she's like, of course. She goes, I give you the contact. What you do after is your business. You get it, you don't. And she did, and I met the person that eventually made the decision. But it took a year. And I was like, this is a long time. She goes,
patience.
4.
I feel like if you can just get a vending machine at the Miami
right?
you'd be balling.
You'd be killing it.
Every college, everywhere.
You could buy a $1.5 million house in Miami in 2 years.
Hello. Yeah. And then pay the taxes.
And then you... IRS.
Might need to get a second vending machine for that.
And then the other... the FAU store that you opened as well.
My FAU. Well, I don't have the FAU store anymore. And crazy enough, and so I'm going to tell you my little moment right now. I had the FAU store.
Yeah.
I think it was through Levy or Aramark, one of those. And we did it in PG5, which is one of the parking garages. Prior to the store, I did a lot, and I do still a lot with FIU, and it's not like I'm monetarily, but I donate time. I speak at the classes. I love the professors there, and donate cupcakes and do the mentorship programs and all this stuff to do Startup FIU. So they switched vendors from these folks to Chartwells, I think it is. And I had the weirdest meeting with the guy from Chartwells, and then they didn't have a space for us. I wanted to move into GC, the Graham Center, and so I was like, we just had it was a strange vibe. I've never had that kind of meeting before. He was just like, and I never had a moment where I hadn't been able to connect with somebody on some level. And the meeting was awkward. And at the end of the meeting, all of a sudden he brings out his phone with pictures of his children that have red hair. And I'm like, why didn't you say something in the beginning of the meeting, dude? Kind of what happened here? And he was the active person that I have not been able to get into. And it's strange because it's I just got this award, the Torch Award from FIU, and I still can't get into GC. So I'm like, So
there are some people
it's happening.
That.
Yeah.
There are some people that
it was weird.
You just don't like,
I know.
It's okay.
We'll move on.
Life will take over.
Yeah.
All right. So how many stores do you have right now? 8?
8.
What are they?
Airport, Pines, Pembroke Pines, Davie, Miami Lakes. I have 2 in Coral Gables. The one we most recently opened, it's close to the WeWork. London Square, Aventura. Where are we? I think we're done.
I love
right?
it. And how long did it take from 2008?
Well, I started in 2005 from the house.
Okay, 2005 the house, first store, 2008. So 3 years working from home.
Well, actually, that I started October, so it was really 2006 was at the house, and then 2007 I got the warehouse. 2008 I got here, and then 2010 I did the London Square store. 11 was Miami Lakes, and 11-ish was Aventura, and then the Pine store, the Davie store, the FIU store. I did a Marlins thing for a year, and I did an American Airlines Arena when they were winning for a year.
Best time to open a store there.
That was good. And then, we've done little pop-ups and stuff like that.
Right.
But that's where we are.
I read an article from the Miami Herald.
Yeah.
That mentioned your revenue.
Yeah, I think it was 4.1 something, 4.3. I can't remember.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
All right, 2006 revenue was more or less.
I can't remember.
50 something you said.
Ish, yeah.
All right, then.
The first year, it was 55.
Okay,
right.
Then how do you grow? When was the next big year for you?
And you're gonna hate this answer, but I never really cared. I care now. And the reason being, when I opened the Gable store here, it really took off. It took off. And we did really well. I mean, that's like my $1 million store. And it's a great store. And I think part of the reason why my downfall, along with my good part, is that it really never was about that, ever. And when it became about that, when I had that, I had a massive theft, you know what I mean? And so when I had to focus on that these last 2 years, it's been, and we're at 4.2 right now, because we've closed, we've opened, I've bought out a person, and of course I'm proud of that, and I look to that, and now I'm very focused on the numbers and the financial aspect of it, but that's not what I love.
That's the thing. If you would have started with money in your mind, I'm sure you would have opened up something else. You would have gone for something more conservative when it comes to money. Something that is supposed to make money, right?
Right?
Because most people think that cupcakes.
Yeah.
It's like, really? How much money can you make?
It sounds stupid. Right?
And then once you show them the money, it's like...
it's not so stupid.
No, not at all. It's like, I've seen the store. It gets packed all the time.
It's tiny now too, so it looks packed.
Valentine's Day, no, it's packed. Valentine's Day.
Yeah, even up to the point you're about to close, there's always at least a line of 2 or 3 people.
There's people coming in and out all the time. It's amazing. That. It's amazing, and
I'm grateful.
I'm not. By the way, she brought me cupcakes, but Alex.
Of course.
We're probably gonna eat all of them today.
Yeah, it's crazy because since I'm there at least every other day. It's crazy. So sometimes people. I think it's because I'm blessed, but anyway, I have good genes.
Alex, look at that.
Clearly.
Let me see.
Sometimes I walk into the store and there's people like sometimes they're a little older and they're looking at the cupcakes and they're like, I don't know what I want, and I'm like, well, I'll tell you what I recommend.
Awesome.
I really like the
red velvet cream cheese
with the cream cheese.
That's great.
Or the dulce de leche.
The dulce de leche
is amazing.
See, I don't have to mark it. I have you.
Yeah, I walk in there and I'm just like, you can get this one. If you're gonna get, I'm telling you, man, the cream cheese one is amazing. I always tell people, if you can get the cream cheese one, get red velvet cream cheese. That is the bomb.
That's my like the other day.
So cute.
We bought a 12-pack of the red velvet and cream cheese, and that's all we ate.
Did you eat that the whole day?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. It's crazy. My whole family's like, you got Misha's cupcakes? You got Misha's cupcakes?
You guys, that's so nice.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Thank you.
That's why you're here right now, because we eat this
Here's
more
the
than
thing.
we should.
I only invite people that I actually care about, like that I really want to get to know. I made it a goal this year for me to meet all the people that I look up to. Okay,
that's awesome.
And I know we've never met before.
I'm glad we have.
I was trying to contact you.
I'm terrible.
I emailed her, texted her. I sent you an email.
Where'd you send the email?
3 different email accounts that I got from different places. I asked people in the store.
We talked to the employees. I'm telling you, ask your employees. We're there almost every single day.
I sent you a message on Instagram, on Facebook.
I don't do Instagram.
The Facebook one.
That is the one that I check every once in a while.
Here's the thing. I'm super big on cold calling or reaching out to people. And
it works.
It just works.
You're right.
I've met everybody that I've met. Some of my mentors I met through just reaching out to them.
That's awesome.
On Facebook.
Very cool.
I stalk them on a certain nice way where I go their Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, every single avenue that I can. And I know. Now that I'm a business owner, I understand that we're busy, we're doing stuff. So I barely go on social media now.
I'm terrible at it.
And you're running a business. I understand that.
Right.
People get discouraged because they think that you just don't want to do my interview. You just don't want to.
I'm not looking at it.
You're doing stuff,
Yeah.
and I get that. So that's why I kept on going. I kept on
you
texting
did.
you.
Oh my God, I know.
Sometimes I'll be like, oh man, I tell Rebecca like, man, am I pushing too much?
No, it's good. Because I just like, oh my God.
You're busy.
I feel so bad.
And you have so many things to do. So I know, I was trying to text you and then she replied at 4 a.m. and I'm like, that's a great time to talk to Misha. When you get 2 texts from her at 4 a.m, you know that you have to wake up early to text her.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And then I forget that people have like lives.
But I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you.
I think this is very inspirational. It's going to help a lot of people.
I appreciate it. It's nice to get to know you guys too.
And the smell, it's just.
I like vanilla better than chocolate.
You should.
Seriously, I think
the vanilla one is so much better.
I know. I totally agree with you.
You should make candles with the different smells. Of your cupcakes.
How do you do that, right?
I don't know, but I would love to have the smell in my house all the time.
You don't understand.
I used to.
If I bring my mom cupcakes and candles that smell like your cupcakes,
wow, that's a business idea, right?
That's it.
Oh, you guys, seriously.
All right, so you made $1 million by when? Because I know that's a goal for a lot of people, more or less. Give me a.
I mean I think that, like as far as
I want to know
sales,
I want to know the time frame of. The 55 that you started to the first $1 million. How long did that take?
So after that year, like by 2009, we'd done like close to $1 million.
So about 2 years, 3 years?
Well, I mean,
because a lot of people think that, you know, like they look at Facebook and this and that, and they think that you can build a $1 million company in a couple of months.
Maybe, I don't know.
If you're very lucky, yes.
Yeah,
you know?
or you can get a lot of people to invest in it.
Yeah, but then it's not really sales.
Yeah, and we're not in tech.
Exactly. So, I love to say that a cupcake shop was able to make so much money and be so successful. Because I think when people talk about Miami, they have to talk about Misha's Cupcakes.
Really?
Everyone knows.
Yeah, it's become part of the Miami culture.
So exciting.
Everyone knows about this. Every single person. Every time I bring somebody to the show, they're like, "Oh, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get a cupcake," and then I go. You know, it's like
it's crazy.
It's part
really
of it.
Nice.
Even when I pick my mom up from work, I always take like a box. Not always, but from time to time.
Like at my ass, just to make me feel good.
No, I mean, you know, we eat it every day, so we might as well talk about it, right? I bring not this big, but sometimes I bring like the box of 6 to my mom's job, and everybody's like, "Perfect. Are those for us?"
You're like, "No."
That's how you show them that you care, you know?
Yeah.
Where does your mom work?
She works at Mercy.
Oh.
Mercy Hospital.
I was born there. Nice.
Yeah.
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 So do you live in the Grove area?
No, I live in Miami Lakes.
Oh,
so I go to the Miami Lakes location quite a bit.
I like that story.
Yeah.
It's a good story.
All of them are beautiful.
I go to Chipotle right there, and then
And
I walk
then,
around and get cupcakes.
Mm-hmm. And then get coffee at the Latin America.
Yeah.
How is it to manage so many stores? What's your operations like?
Well, my COO she just had a baby 2 weeks ago, so I was having like almost panic. And the months leading up to her going on maternity leave, we were preparing and trying to get everybody so that they could be more self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy. I was super bummed about her. I was super happy she's having a baby.
Of course.
Because, you know, and I love her. Like, she's been with me 5 years. She started working in the back with me in the kitchen. And then she, you know, worked in the front. And then she wanted to work in the back and the front. And then, you know, she grew up. I've watched her turn into a real professional, you know, really good. And we understand each other. Like I like her as a person. And so then these last 2 weeks for me have actually been somewhat transformational because so she's doing baby and I don't want to bother her, but of course we text every day. But her job is basically to field everything from the managers at all the stores before coming to me. So take care of the stuff and I don't really want to hear about it, right?
Right.
Unless, of course, it's something that I want to hear about. And so she knows what I want to hear about. But I think it got to the point where she and I were so close and we would spend so much time together that I heard about it anyway.
Right.
You know? And then it takes away from being able to do what my job is. And the reality is my job isn't to be dealing with problems and to be putting out fires. And it used to be, of course, because my job was everything. But if everyone has their job, I need to be out and I need to be selling and I need to be doing stuff like this and I need to be growing and I need to be finding financing and I need to do all those things that I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
So I was kind of like, you know, I felt this loss, but then I realized this is a perfect opportunity for me to re-engage and to do like what I said, like what I'm supposed to do and really let everybody do their jobs and do it right. And so, and expect that they're going to do it right. So the managers now, I'm like, okay, and here are the deadlines, and here's what we need. I want this. What are you missing? What do you need? What can we do to improve X, Y, and Z? And just in these last 2 weeks, I feel like rekindled in a way that I needed, you know? And I decided finally that I'm no longer, for those folks that I know I'm going to be in contact with on a regular basis, the managers and the people that are kind of like in charge of each store, the warehouse manager, et cetera, I'm hiring them now. Because before, you know, Vanessa or the training manager would hire them, and I have to like them. And I realized that some of the managers we've had in the past just didn't really like them. Right. And it doesn't mean like we have to be buddies, because we're not.
Right.
We're not going to be buddies, you know what I mean? But I have to like you because I know that internally you have a good core and that you're kind and that you really want to be there and that you're going to put the business as a priority. And so I interviewed a girl yesterday, and I hired her, and it was like, that's what it was. She was that girl. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the managers I have right now, they're those people.
Right.
They're the people that I like. Like, I want to watch them grow and do well, and I believe that they believe in the business. And that's a big step for me, because I've had managers that they were good, but there was something about them that felt wrong. And if I'd only listened to my gut each and every time that I should have, I'd have so many less problems.
Of course.
Right?
Right, but I think you listened to your gut a couple of times and it worked out for you.
There's been some good gut calls.
So learn to just listen to it. Do whatever it says to do.
Kid.
Yeah, all your employees are great.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's nice.
All of our employees are pretty good.
They're great.
I think also if they have a manager that's not like a little sour,
Yeah.
even if they're good, you don't even see it because they're affected by that person's energy.
How many employees do you have right now?
About 90.
Wow.
I think that's a challenge for us too, because we want to have somebody always present, of course, and then the population, it's not like there are 90 full-time employees,
Of course.
right? So you have to manage between the population that is our demographic currently,
Yeah.
and the majority of our employees are students.
Yeah.
Their schedules are tough. They also have they have a different way of believing that work should be. How does that sound? It's interesting, and you guys are in that millennial age too, so I should stop talking. But
No, I want you to talk about that.
I think it's a different motivation. There's something that I don't always understand. It's frustrating because I don't know how some people are motivated versus others, in the sense that people.
Give me an example.
Okay, so I mean, the way that I was raised was, you know, we had to work in the house. Like, my dad would say, okay, you know, the whole TV thing. But then every Saturday we had to garden. I hated gardening. Oh my God. And we had to clean a room in the house and clean our rooms. That was once a week. You know, we had chores, right?
Right.
I was very fortunate. I grew up in the Grove in this beautiful home, and it was a beautiful lifestyle. But my parents didn't make us entitled. And let me tell you,
So we're talking about the entitlement mentality that millennials have.
I didn't get there. I just was like, I didn't say it.
All right, so I'll say it for you. Millennials are very lazy. They like to feel like they deserve things.
Why?
You don't have to say anything. I got you.
I'm just gonna nod.
So, so here's the thing about millennials. Just because of the way that we were raised, we think that we deserve everything. Okay, and I noticed that when I moved into this country. I'm an immigrant, so
Yes.
in my case, I felt from a very young age that I had to work,
Right.
because if you don't work, you don't eat, and
There's that.
there's that. And then when you grow up with video games and everything that you want for
Right.
Christmas and all these different things, you don't have to earn anything. You grow up with that mentality.
Yeah.
And that's something that it's affecting the workforce, and something that it's making it harder for somebody to start a business and hire millennials.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the way it is.
I know.
And, you know, I've been through it. Every time I hire someone, like I've hired people from FIU.
Right.
They have a marketing degree. I've hired people from UM with marketing business degrees. And
Yeah.
all of them are entitled as hell.
So how do you maneuver in that environment?
I interview 100 people before I pick one. And then I go, not for the one that has the most experience, but the one that wants to work.
It's attitude. I mean, it really isn't always aptitude, you know, I think. But you got to wade through quite a few folks to get to that point, right?
Yep. And that's something that's going to affect them in the future, because people want... I remember my first internship, I wanted to do film and music videos and all that. I was 15 years old. I didn't get paid for a whole year, and I was working with the best directors and the best people, and now they're my friends.
That's awesome.
You know, I talk to them all the time, and I feel like these are people I used to look up to. I
Right.
still do. But now I know them. I got to work with everybody that I
So
wanted to
cool.
work with. And in my mind, I wasn't thinking about money at all. I didn't care that I was working
wanted
for
to learn,
I wanted to
right?
learn. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But now you tell a kid, like, hey, unpaid internship so you can get some experience. They're like, no, I need $15 an hour. So I already said everything.
You
That's
did. You
it.
said it all. We don't have to say anything else.
You know how
did
it is. So I completely understand you. We're not that breed of millennials.
Well, clearly not. I mean,
we're all about work.
Very
and that's something that I've always said about my kids. And I always tell Alexis, like, hey, Christmas, I'll give you whatever you want as long as you earned it.
You know, it's hard, though, when you actually then have them and you feel guilty because you're working so much.
I talked about that yesterday, too. But I'm very big on earning things.
I think you're wise. You got to do that.
Handing something to a kid just like because they're a kid doesn't help.
Right? And then they turn to brats. Like, total.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's crazy because like
that.
you want to give your kids everything, but that's not a good thing.
But the world doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
the world will not give you anything. You have to earn it.
My son said to me, I picked him up from school the other day, and he goes, I said something about, it was his birthday this weekend. I go, sweetheart, what do you want for your birthday? And he goes, well, since you don't give us anything during the year, and he's 6, and I was like, and he goes, so I don't really know, Mom. And I'm like, really? I was like, what? So for his birthday, I gave him a few things, right? Each thing, and this, I was so pleased. He opened each item, opened it, thanked me, played with it, put it aside, opened the next one, and he showed gratitude. And I thought, something's working here.
He did a great job.
We'll see. But I see my own kids, and my daughter is she's almost 14. She's a woman. Like, her body is a woman, and she's surrounded by kids that they're doing things that I didn't do until I was 20.
Right.
And she's a great head on her shoulders, and I didn't expect that. But we had a conversation the other day, and she goes, you work really hard. And I go, yeah, I know. She goes, you know what, Mom? All of my friends, all their moms are working moms. And I realized that. They gravitate towards familiar, right? But they also, she loves her friends' moms. And they have garnered such respect because of the fact that they're hardworking, but they're cool. And so I want her to feel that way, Listen, I'm not knocking non-working moms at all because that's harder.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's a lot harder.
But just because you're a mom doesn't mean you have to put your dreams aside.
No, right?
And that's what most people think. And I know your kids are going to be great because they have you as an example. They have you as an example, and that's something that everybody looks up to their parents. In a way or another, you get influenced by the things that you see from a very young age. So I know that helps a lot. And I think we're done. Thank you very much for being here.
I appreciate it.
I really appreciate you being here. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Well, I hope that you guys continue to eat. Cupcakes. Yeah, don't ever move.
As long as we're here, we're going to overeat cupcakes.
Oh my God. And you realize you have this, and then your place over there is like 2 blocks away from my Aragon store. You're screwed.
Yeah, and I'm going to...
Screwed. That's great.
I think I might die eating your... They're going to find me dead somewhere with the cupcakes in there.
Just don't die.
Gotta get that Kendall store.
I'll be all right.
I like that. I would love to... That's so crazy that you said that. I'd love to make... I always love to, I don't know, I love scents and stuff like that. I don't like wearing them, but I always thought, how do you make perfume? How do they do that? How do they create that smell from that kind of thing? Maybe that's the next business.
We got to find the contact for
Misha's candles.
Right? Oh my God, silly. Anyway, guys, well, let me know if I can ever help you guys or anything. And,
Well, you're helping us now.
Contact. I am. I'm glad.
Yeah, we're always going to be in touch. You're not getting rid of me.
Damn.
I'll keep texting you at 4 a.m.
Oh, I know. Sometimes I'm like, oh, shit, people have spouses. And maybe that's not a good idea.